London's Rolex Rippers have evolved into chemical predators. At this point, wearing a Rolex in parts of London after midnight is starting to feel less like fashion and more like activating a side quest called Survive the Night, because the so called Rolex Ripper gangs are no longer just snatching watches in the street. Now, reports suggest organized criminals are allegedly drugging revelers using substances like GHB and Rohypnol before robbing them of luxury watches and valuables. And honestly, that shifts this entire crime wave into something much darker. This is no longer just theft. That's the key thing. We've moved beyond opportunistic robbery. This is now organized predatory behavior. Calculated, targeted, industrial. These gangs allegedly identify wealthy looking targets, spike them, incapacitate them, then strip them of watches worth tens of thousands of pounds. That's not random street crime, that's hunting. London's luxury scene has become a predator ecosystem. And the terrifying part, these gangs reportedly operate with structure, spotters, followers, drivers, inside information, coordinated teams. According to crime reporting and security analysts, some gangs monitor luxury areas, restaurants, bars, clubs, and hotels, specifically searching for expensive watches. That means some victims are likely being assessed long before the robbery actually happens, which is deeply unsettling. The drugging element changes everything. This is where the story becomes genuinely sinister, because GHB and Rohypnol are substances heavily associated with sexual offending and incapacitation crimes. We're talking about chemicals capable of memory disruption, unconsciousness, confusion, reduced physical control, and now they're allegedly being weaponized for luxury theft. That's horrifying. The fake cocaine trap is especially evil. One of the grimmest details in this crime wave is the idea that some victims allegedly believe they're buying cocaine during nights out, but instead get chemically knocked unconscious and robbed. That's psychological ambush territory. The victim thinks they're engaging in one risky behavior, while criminals are playing an entirely different game altogether. London's wealth aesthetic has become dangerous, and this is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say loudly enough. In some parts of London now, visible wealth has become a tactical liability, especially luxury watches, designer jewelry, supercars, visible high-end fashion, because organized criminals increasingly see these things the same way predators see exposed weakness in nature, not as style, as opportunity. Rolexes have become portable bank accounts. That's why these crimes exploded. Luxury watches are extremely valuable, easy to transport, globally desirable, relatively easy to resell internationally. According to industry reporting, luxury watch theft has surged dramatically in recent years, with organized gangs increasingly targeting Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and similar brands. A Rolex isn't just jewelry anymore, it's portable liquid wealth strapped to someone's wrist. Britain has accidentally created a luxury crime economy. That's the wider issue here. London now contains massive wealth, massive inequality, luxury visibility, culture, weak deterrence perceptions, international organized crime networks. That combination creates exactly this type of crime ecosystem. The psychological damage is massive. People focus on the stolen watch, but honestly, the trauma is bigger. Imagine waking up disoriented, memory gaps, your valuables gone, potentially no clear understanding of what happened. That messes with people psychologically for years, especially if they realize later they were deliberately chemically incapacitated. Mayfair, Knightsbridge, Soho, nowhere feels safe, and that's another huge problem. Historically, People associated wealthy London areas with security, prestige, protection, but these gangs actively target affluent districts because wealthy victims are concentrated there. The crime follows the money, always. The Rolex Ripper name sounds funny until you realize what it actually means. That's the strange thing about Britain. We give terrifying crime waves cartoonish names. Rolex Rippers. Sounds almost comedic. Then you realize these are organized groups using violence, intimidation, surveillance, and now allegedly chemical incapacitation against victims. Suddenly, the name stops sounding funny. Social media made this worse because wealth signaling exploded online. People now publicly broadcast their watches, their clubs, their restaurants, their locations, their routines. Criminals absolutely monitor this stuff. Why wouldn't they? Social media is basically voluntary surveillance footage at this point. The gangs operate like wildlife predators. Honestly, that's the closest comparison. Spotters reportedly identify targets, others follow, others close in. The attacks happen extremely fast. Predatory coordination, urban hunting behavior. And once drugs enter the equation, the danger level escalates massively. London's reputation is taking damage. This matters too. International tourists, executives, celebrities, and wealthy visitors increasingly discuss luxury theft fears openly. That affects the image of the city because eventually people start associating London nightlife with watch theft, phone theft, organized robbery, violent gangs. That's terrible for a global capital city. This crime wave feels very 2026. And honestly, the whole thing feels uniquely modern. Luxury obsession, hyper-visible wealth, organized international gangs, drug assisted robbery, social media surveillance. It's like late-stage capitalism and urban crime fused together into one nightmare ecosystem. So now London's Rolex Ripper gangs are allegedly escalating beyond simple robbery into chemically assisted theft, targeting luxury watch owners. And honestly, that should seriously alarm people because this isn't just petty crime. This is organized predatory behavior evolving in sophistication. The gangs reportedly understand nightlife psychology perfectly. Alcohol, drugs, ego, luxury culture, distraction, status signaling. They exploit all of it. And the truly disturbing part, some victims may not even fully remember what happened to them. That's what makes this darker than ordinary theft. The chemical element transforms robbery into something far more psychologically violating. At this point, London nightlife increasingly feels like a strange urban safari where predators are actively scanning crowds for visible wealth markers, while ordinary people try to convince themselves they're just having a good night out. And honestly, the fact people now have to seriously consider whether wearing a luxury watch could make them a target for organized drugging gangs says something deeply unsettling about the direction parts of modern London are drifting in.